Welcome, it's Denome, and this market update is going to be extremely interesting because we have Mt. Gox transferring almost 100,000 Bitcoin, and that will be given to the people within the next 2 weeks. So we will have some sell side liquidity entering the market, and that will be bearish obviously in the short term. But when the Mt. Gox money is done, when it's already been distributed to the people, that's when the FUD, the fear, will subside, and I think then we are headed for maybe even new all-time highs. But for the next 2 weeks, we have the update from Kraken that in the next 7 to 14 days, they will be transferring the money to the people who Mt. Gox is owing money to. That's pretty cool. And we even have a news from Cryptopolitan also confirming the next thing, the same thing, that the next 7 to 14 days the money will be distributed to the people. But we're running with a little bit limited information, but luckily there are people and companies that track these on-chain transactions. So Arkham Intel, they were actually able to find the address that received 48,641 Bitcoin already, which is roughly half of the Mt. Gox money. The other half of Mt. Gox money is still being held in these two addresses here. So I went ahead and actually confirmed this. I checked both two addresses. Here is 42,000 Bitcoin in this address and 500 Bitcoin in this address here. So Arkham information, at least at the time of making this video, is still correct. So I guess what will happen here is that Kraken will first give half of the money to the people, and then the Mt. Gox trustee will give the other half to Kraken, and then they will distribute it to the people eventually. So I guess there will be 2 batches of money being given to the people. And some people here are speculating that it's not going to be that bearish for this move because 13,000 people have already received money from this bankruptcy, and the remaining people will be getting their money soon as well. I don't know if that's exactly true or not. Here's another post that is basically saying that this is the total market cap of the Mt. Gox money compared to the total market cap of Bitcoin is basically nothing. So doesn't really matter in the large scheme of things. But what I take from this is for the next week or so, at least until, let's say, half of the money of Mt. Gox has been given to the people, we will see how the markets react. And that will be the time to basically buy Bitcoin. If we see a significant drop, that will probably be a time to buy Bitcoin, because then the FUD will be cleared, because there's no more FUD after the fact anymore. So in my opinion, this is eventually quite bullish. But because some people receive the Bitcoin, they may just want to exit their positions and sell Bitcoin from here. So before I show you the technical analysis, let's actually see what the fundamentals show us. So now first, let's take a look at the spot ETFs. So we are still seeing more accumulation from the ETF people. So on 16th of July, we saw $422 million to flow into the Bitcoin ETFs. So they are still expecting higher prices, which is very, very nice to see as well. Now let's take a look at the crypto quant. And the interesting thing here is when we take a look at the exchange reserves, basically how many Bitcoin do spot exchanges hold. This number has dropped from roughly 1.35 million to 1.25 million. So almost 100,000 Bitcoin down. But I don't think this is exactly accurate. I think there's some accounting error because the money that was transferred from Mt. Gox to the Kraken, they went through some unknown wallet or a new wallet. So I don't think this is exactly tracking the money correctly in this chart here. I think this is a little bit wrong information here, which is skewing the chart. But all in all, don't really know what to make of it. I guess the trend is still down, so people still want to accumulate Bitcoin. That's, I guess, the important thing. And that we can also confirm here when we go all the way down here and we take a look at the accumulation addresses. So these are wallets that have never sold any Bitcoin. And these have now accumulated 600,000 Bitcoin inside them. This update is from July 15th, not exactly the most recent number, but this is still going up, which is quite interesting to see. Now let's hop on over to Santiment, which is the tool that I use to basically track Bitcoin under the hood as well. So here are a couple of key indicators. The most interesting one to me is obviously to look at the total amount of Bitcoin holders, which is still trending down. So these are basically retail investors who have been selling Bitcoin. Even though this has been pumping, they have still continued to sell. When it was trending down, they were continuing to sell. So these might be people who are looking to buy back Bitcoin at some later time. I don't exactly know when, but I think this is interesting that they've been selling even though Bitcoin was trending down, and now some of them have even sold when the pump happened. But when we take a look at the whales, 1,000 to 10,000 Bitcoin whales, 100 to 1,000 Bitcoin whales, these have actually trended to the upside here, even when the price was still pumping. So they are expecting higher prices. 10 to 100,000, 100 Bitcoin wallets, they have actually went down in size or in amounts during this pump here. So not everybody is bullish, which is just nice to see that in the short term we might expect some pullback and then a push back upwards when the fear has subsided. But the red line, which is the 10,000 to 100,000 Bitcoin wallets, these have gone from 101 to now 98, which is a local bottom of these. I think these are some of these are the Mt. Gox money. I don't exactly know. It's quite hard to tell if this information is 100% accurate or not. But some of them have sold, kind of pointing towards the idea that we may see a move to the downside here soon as well. In the short term. But this is the crazy part. When we take a look at the dormant circulation of Bitcoin, so money that has not been moved for over a year or money that has not been moved for over 3 years, we're still not seeing any spike here despite this nice move to the upside, meaning that old money doesn't want to sell here. It's only the speculators who are selling, kind of giving me the signal that the pump will continue. Because when old money is selling like here, that was a top. When old money was selling here, that's when they were expecting the price to actually reverse to the downside. But now we are not seeing, at least in the last couple of days, even a week, we haven't seen old money selling Bitcoin. So I guess they are expecting higher prices. So that's why they don't want to sell. So that's very nice to see. We did see some miner selling here at this extreme peak here, so they are securing the bags, but I guess when the price goes down they will start accumulating once again. I cannot really tell. This is like a very small amount of selling. Cannot really say that it's a lot of selling, just a little bit selling from miners as of now. Now let's actually go over to the charts and let's analyze what could happen in the short term. So obviously we broke through this trend line here, resistance line, and what I was expecting in my previous video was that this actually goes to the downside to give us like a nice head and shoulders pattern, but that did not happen, so I was wrong on that once again. But now what we do have is we do have a trend line from here to here. Let's see if this is accurate or not. Kind of giving us an idea that this might be a local top here. Another reason why this could be a local top is when we are looking at the 4-hour chart here, we take a look at the RSI, you can see that we went to the overbought area, which is usually an area where we have a reversal in price, and also we had this sustained trend line on the RSI that gave us this continuous pump to the upside. And eventually in the next 2 days or so, this should go to the downside here. So for next week, I'm kind of expecting a bearish move. I don't exactly know if that's going to happen or within the next week or so. I'm expecting a small pullback. And then when we do see that, or when people see like, okay, that was the drop, that's all of the Mt. Gox scare. That's when people will start to realize like, okay, this is the time to buy Bitcoin. If we see a drop, we don't see a drop, all in all, I think people will buy when the Mt. Gox fear has been mostly subsided. Doesn't matter, you don't have to see all of the Mt. Gox money be sold, just half of it can be sold, and then people will already start to understand, like, wait a minute, this is probably going to be the bottom. So that's when they will start buying once again. And obviously there will be the headlines and so on and so forth. So I'm quite bullish, but we might see one more move to the downside, and then we are probably headed to the up and even beyond the all-time high. Just like fundamentally, we are seeing so many nice indicators to the upside. Obviously, anything could once again happen, and this is simply my analysis looking at the charts here, and this is not absolute truth. Anything could happen pretty much, but just my ideas on the charts. Personally, I would not be shorting here. If you want to make a small short-term short, you could do that, because suddenly a lot of people will have access to 50,000 Bitcoin and then another 43,000 Bitcoin. So obviously there will be some sell pressure, but who knows how much. Anyway, this is kind of my ideas here. Next week, short term move to the downside, and then a lot of buying from whales, from people who are scouting the bottom, and then we go back to the upside. That's at least my idea for the next week and 2 weeks. Let's see how that will happen. For the global liquidity is the same number as in my previous video, so nothing crazy happened on that front. But that's basically everything I have for this video. Hope you like this update, and let me know in the comments what do you think will happen in the next week. Do we see a pullback and then a continuation? What do you think will happen? Thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next one. Bye bye.